Live from New York, it's a show that's welcoming Jonas Valanciunas to the Denver Nuggets. Even though Nick told me that he was going to go to Greece to play for the love of the game.
That's not what I said.
He wanted to get you. Well, you don't understand.
He did say
he wants
yesterday.
minutes.
He's
wants
old
to
school.
play. Yeah.
He just wants to play.
Him
and Kevin Durant. He just wants to improve every day.
What if we give you 14 minutes but guarantee the second year contract? Oh!
Right. That's a happy medium.
Sign me
but
up.
that was a misrepresentation. You were acting like he was insulted he couldn't start over Joker. I was like, no, I think he just wants to be a main contributor rather than a bench player. And they were like, hey, you're going to be a bench player, but we'll give you more money.
Love of the game. Fine. I'll get out there and play. He's like Rafael Palmeiro in the minor league. Ricky Henderson somewhere in the world getting some at-bats.
Good move for the Nuggets, though.
Yeah.
Woo.
Well, yeah.
What an offseason.
Yeah.
We start with Chet's new deal. OKC maxing out coffee book aficionado Chet Holmgren. This on the heels of SGA signing a 4-year, $285 million deal. Jalen Williams also due for his rookie extension, so that's coming up. They seem optimistic about that. Lots of moves from the champs. Your reaction to this news?
Of course they did.
Yeah.
That's my reaction. Chet Holmgren is a bad boy.
Well,
no.
I'm not willing to say that
I'm
yet.
willing to say it. Chet's my guy now. I got Wemby and Chet. And speaking of Wemby, if it wasn't for Wemby, Chet Holmgren would be the guy viewed as the newest unicorn. And I've been watching Holmgren since high school when he brought the ball up like a point guard.
How were you watching him in high school?
It's the same. We watched the same clip.
No, clips. I just watched him play in high school.
Okay,
I mean,
right.
not like some of the
on some
AAU stuff.
stream in
but I watched several, highlights and all that stuff.
Okay, understand.
And I was intrigued that he was bringing the ball up like a point guard, handling it well as a 7-footer. And then he goes to Gonzaga, plays inside. All right, now he's in OKC doing a little bit of everything. My point is this. He is a winner, and he is about the team first.
That's true.
He went to Gonzaga and played differently than he had played in high school because it was best for the team. And he can shoot the three. He can handle the ball. He's one of the best rim protectors in the league. He is very good defensively. Like, this is a big three. And obviously they extended Shea, which is a no-brainer. This is a big three with Jalen Williams that you just have to keep together. They're all under 26. I know Shea will turn 27 later this month. But they're all young. I think all three of them are going to improve. Chet hasn't even played 2 full seasons. And here's the last thing, Nick, I'll quickly say. He steps it up in the big moments. What did he do in game 7 of the finals?
A lot of blocks.
18 points, 8 rebounds, 5 blocks. That's a record for the NBA Finals in a game 7. Olajuwon played in a game 7. Ewing played in a game 7. Kareem's played in game 7s, like in the finals. And yet Chet Holmgren blocked the most shots in any game 7. So I just think, we've seen, and I don't even want to pick on the all-time great James Harden, but we've seen players not be able to do it, be at their best in the big games. And he played well against Denver in game 7. He played well in that game 6 against Dallas last year with 21 points. Like, there's no reason I see, and look, he's been hurt, but I don't think he's like injury prone, my personal belief. I think this was a no-brainer and good on OKC.
Listen, he obviously can be the 3rd best player on a championship team because he just was. So in that regard, I understand it. And I do think he is probably, to the casual fan, underrated defensively. But I also think, and you were, maybe Brew has taken your ground on this,
I have.
the Chet guy.
Yeah, for a little while.
Do you think it's fair to say, individually, through 3 seasons, a touch underwhelming from what your expectation was and what we thought he would be? That he missed his...
Be wise about this. They just want to ring.
No, that's why I said that. So
that's tricky. Individually, I just haven't seen him on the court as much.
Which is why I would have waited.
But can I add one more thing to you?
Yeah.
And I wish I pulled the sound because I think this is what you're referencing if we're thinking the same quote. where he had like a separate interview after they won, and he was hinting at how he has sacrificed his game. So maybe if he was on a bad team, he could go out there and give you 24, 12, and 4
Don't
blocks.
you think he could give you 20-plus points? Like if he played in Orlando, Charlotte's got
could he put up the offensive numbers Brandon Miller, who was the number 2 pick the year after Chet, or I think they were number 2 pick. Sure, sure, and I don't. But and we can put up, I think, Chet's career numbers and the games played. This is because it missed his rookie year because he got hurt. This year he missed half the year because he got hurt. So for you to say he's not injury, what'd you say, injury risk, injury prone? I don't want to.
No, I said injury. I don't feel like he's injury prone. I know he's had some injuries, but I don't think like.
I'm not saying he's
consider Wemby injury prone.
Well, that's not an injury. That's a condition. So I feel like that's different. I mean, Chet we have seen twice fall and miss months because of it. That's happened. And in a limited stretch. And so the point that I'm making is a player who I think had, people vehemently believed, a lot of people, not picking on Wilds at all, he should have been the number 1 pick, has played half the time, and I think has not, and maybe he's saying it's out of selflessness, but has not yet popped like, oh, this guy is going to be a future multi-time All-Star guaranteed. I just don't see the harm in waiting. I don't see the harm in waiting a year.
Paolo just got his money.
Yeah, Paolo to me has proven way more than Chet.
Well, Chet's got a ring. So if you flip-flopped him and then Chet's filling up the box score.
I don't think Chet, and I think Brew will agree with me, I don't think Chet in Orlando would have done what Paolo did. I don't think Chet is a guy who would be the best, at this point in his career, the best player on a playoff team. And Paolo was. I do not think.
Okay, but
if
Paolo was on the Thunder, he's not giving you 24 points. He'd be the third.
Oh no, he'd be their second best player. He's better than Jalen Williams.
Yeah,
and so I think you agree with me, Brew. Like
that.
And so I just don't. Nobody has explained to me I know the harm in paying him, the potential harm in paying him now. I don't know the harm in waiting. And waiting could be halfway into next year, the end of next year. This contract is available. You're the only team that can give it to him. He's a restricted free agent. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand.
You could wait. I've been a proponent of waiting for contracts.
And I don't think he's a sure thing.
I think he's a sure thing. I think he is a surefire perennial. I think he's a surefire star. I think the question I have is, will he become a superstar? But I think he's definitely a star.
Going into next year for the Thunder, we've talked a lot about limiting distractions, getting motivation to, try to repeat. Don't you think the easiest way to disrupt the chemistry of that team is holding back on a contract offer from somebody so they go out and feel like they got to get theirs?
I don't think not paying a guy literally the first moment you are legally allowed to pay him when he has played in half of the games he could have played in because of injury is a massive insult. I think that the Rockets paid Şengün on the same timeline, but far less. Like there's versions of this. Now I know he didn't get the player option, but they didn't get the team option. He didn't, and so I look at Chet as X factor is the wrong word, but on the guys on the Thunder that to me have the biggest variance, he's number 1 with a bullet because I do think he's a major injury risk. I think the evidence.
But outside of injury, which is a big deal, like I said, I don't think he's injury prone.
If you guarantee me his health, then proof of concept is there. Obviously, you keep these 3 guys together. My concern is similar to the Nuggets when they paid Michael Porter Jr. It was like, well,
I think he's better than Michael Porter Jr.
I do too, but that contract, the concern was injury, injuries popped up, post-contract as well.
Porter Jr. was far more of an injury risk. Remember, his whole draft situation was changed because of his injuries, and a lot of people thought he wouldn't even play again in the NBA.
Right, but despite that, oddly, he in the NBA was less injured up when he had gotten his contract than Chet has been. I mean, Chet suffered 2 massive injuries, and my other concern is neither one seemed to have been like, oh man, everyone would have gotten hurt there. You know what I mean? It wasn't.
You think tall, lanky guys are an injury risk? I mean, you thought Wemby is an injury risk.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wemby's a different one because my Wemby thing is like basically every guy his height in the history of the league has had a shortened career. 7'5" or taller, they've all that's a.
To be fair, Wemby's team and Wemby himself work at it because they know the risk.
Yeah,
and he does all that like
and the Chet injuries to me were ominous because the first one seemed like nothing happened and he missed a year, and the second one he fell down and broke his hip as a 20-year-old NBA player.
I don't think you can say an injury seemed like nothing happened. We see non-contact injuries all the time where a guy takes a step and all of a sudden his knee buckles.
But don't you look at like broken bones as like, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know it. If I were Sam Presti, I would have said, let's just wait a year. I don't see a big downside to it.
I think it's possible they learned from the James Harden situation. It was only like $4 million, I think, that separated them from signing Harden for the full max, and what they offered him. Obviously, he goes to Houston, and they never end up winning a ring with those guys.
Head to L.A., newest Laker and video game aficionado DeAndre Aton, getting the best of both worlds here by teaming up with Luka, same draft class, and now teammates, super ripped.
That's what he said. He heard.
Super ripped is a lot. I don't know. Looking like Rondo out there. Should Luka be happy, bro?
Yeah, I think he should be overjoyed that they're getting DeAndre Ayton. Or should I say dominating? That's what he gave. Yeah. He gave himself that nickname. I loved Ayton's demeanor yesterday in that press conference. I mean, he clearly is happy to be with the Lakers. He clearly is happy to be in a winning situation. He said all the right things. He said, this is an opportunity I won't take for granted. He talked about playing with 2 of the best playmakers in the league, in Luka and LeBron. He talked in a way where he knew they could make him a lot better. And that he didn't kill himself for what he did in Portland, but he did seem to, I felt like he understood his career has kind of been, shipwrecked for a little while. And so I think he's looking at this as an opportunity. Now, let me make it clear. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-star or anything like that, but a lob threat with Luka, can hit the short, mid-range jump shot. Defensively, I would like to see him improve. I think that's all about his attitude. Now, he's an up and down, moody type of guy, which I don't like, but I hope he can just, if he can be steady because he's playing with LeBron and Luka, I think this is a great move for the Lakers. Again, 2 months ago, Nick, I don't think, when we looked at what big men the Lakers might be able to get, I don't think anybody was thinking they're getting a DeAndre Ayton.
I thought people thought they were going to get someone better.
Who?
Make a trade. So this is why I disagree with you, Brew. I think Nick Claxton's better than DeAndre Ayton. So I'll just use him as an example.
Andre Ayton hasn't even come close. We all agree he hasn't fulfilled his potential, and he's still 16-10.
Yeah,
for his career.
I think the Lakers need, center-wise, more than anything, was a defensive anchor more than the points. The rebounds are good. I understand that. But I also, should Luka be happy with the Lakers offseason? In my opinion, the Lakers this offseason, up to this point, now it's not done, have done the bare minimum. Going into the offseason, we said they obviously must acquire a center. They thought so when they tried to trade for Mark Williams, right? They end up getting a center in the buyout market, a guy who was bought out by his team. As far as filling out the rest of the roster, in my opinion, they went backwards. They lost Dorian Finney-Smith and replaced him with Jake LaRavia, who was a bench player for Memphis and Sacramento. They lose a guy who has played in big games with Luka in the postseason for a guy who's never played in a playoff game. And their rationale for that was, we want to keep cap space open for 2 years from now. And then Dorian Finney-Smith's contract with the Rockets shows up, and it's like, oh, 2 years from now, there's a team option. So that contract he agreed to with Houston, if you could have gotten him to it, and according to Zach Lowe and other reporting, instead Pelinka did a weird whisper campaign about Dorian Finney-Smith's health, which alienated the agent and him with the Lakers. That contract would have achieved both ends, which is keeping Dorian and keeping the cap space open.
So you think they've taken a step backwards because they lost Dorian? And I like Dorian Finney-Smith too. No. I would have liked to have kept him. And I was strictly speaking about Ayton.
So
the rest of the stuff, they have work to do if they can do it. They need to have more shooting, more athleticism.
Kind of slightly answering different questions. I apologize. But the offseason as a whole, I went into this offseason, as I think we all did, and the whole league did, recognizing the Lakers absolutely unequivocally must acquire a center because they did not have one. And I give them credit for getting a center. And I think at $8 million, the dice roll of DeAndre Ayton is a good one. It's a bet I would have made. Would I have preferred something more substantial? Would I have preferred them to be able to pull off a Walker Kessler deal? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You think Walker Kessler's better than DeAndre Ayton?
For the Lakers, unequivocally. You don't, Brew?
No.
You agree with me, Wilds?
Yeah, I thought that was common knowledge.
I mean, Walker. No, Walker Kessler. If someone trades for, I guess my point would be this: to get Walker Kessler, somebody is going to have to give up a bunch of stuff. To get DeAndre Ayton off your team, the Blazers gave up money. I don't.
Who's got more talent?
When you're 6 years into your career,
he's 26 years old.
When you're 6 years into your career, I'm not as concerned about raw talent. And again, I don't hate the Ayton addition, but I look at it as we knew the Lakers had to get a center. Maybe I was too optimistic, but I'm a little underwhelmed by the center they got. And aside from that move, it seems to me the roster got worse. The bench, Laravia for Dorian Finney-Smith is a downgrade. Right. And that's a self-imposed downgrade. So if I were Luka, that combined with the fact that it seems like it's at least on the board now that LeBron won't be on the team next year, and that the local Laker beat reporters are saying that we're focused on 2 years from now instead of right now when I have more pressure on me than any superstar in the league. I would not be, if I'm Luka, I'm not overjoyed with this offseason.
And I'm sure they're talking to Luka's representation, if not Luka himself. He does not need to be leading them on to be getting ready for 2 years from now. Luka I don't think he's going to have as long of a prime as some of these other younger players, just because so far the way he takes care of his body. Now, maybe he is ripped like Ayton said, and he's coming back with a new mindset. But Luka's in win now mode.
I agree.
He is in his prime right now. I don't care about the age. They say it starts at 27, whatever. He's in his prime. We've seen physically him lose some athleticism and speed and things like that already. So I don't think his representation should be leading the Lakers into hey, just get ready for the future. They need to win.
No, that's not his. I don't think his representation is doing that.
But I'm sure the Lakers are talking with Luka and his representation. I would think just like they talked with LeBron and his representation.
I would imagine Luka's focus is let's have the best teams possible right now.
Yeah.
Especially because he's not even bound to the Lakers long term, at least as of yet. He hasn't signed the contract. So that's why, if you're Luka, to answer the question, how do you feel about LA's offseason? Fine. You know what I mean? I don't think you disagree with me.
No, I disagree. I'm a little more, I'm certainly more excited about Ayton than you are. And I'm not predicting him to be an all-star. But I think Ayton can be really good with two guys that draw more attention. When he was at his best in a lot of ways, he was with Chris Paul. Importantly, he had no point guard. I know that's your boy Scoot Henderson, but he had nobody to really direct traffic, get him to rock, be a smart, cerebral point guard player. Now he's got that in LeBron and Luka. I think I just think it's a good addition. I'm not trying to say he's going to be Jabbar or anything like
But it
that.
should be
I
his
think
best year since the finals.
Again, Nick, we were excited about Mark Williams.
The-
Mark Williams hasn't done what DeAndre Ayton's done at all.
I think that there is an argument to be made that Mark Williams, and a strong argument, I think the Lakers believed this argument given what they were willing to give up for him, that a healthy Mark Williams would be more impactful on this team than DeAndre Ayton. Now, Mark Williams, the health was the big concern. But I think that's what the Lakers thought. That's why they were willing to give up a swap, a pick, and connect.